Welcome back to the Hall Institute Forum. I'm Rich Lee, and with me today is Brad Taylor, General Manager of the Trenton Thunder. We were talking at the beginning of the show about the role that sports play in our society in terms of recreation, the economy, sense of community, and I'd like to ask Brad, your idea. I mean, you work for an organization like the Trenton Thunder, and part of your job is to prepare athletes to go on to the next level, but I'm sure there's larger issues beyond that. And what do you see just in general as the role that sports play in our society today?
I think for us, it's really just boils down to being a unifying force that can bring people together that have common interests or just need to have a fun night out or away at the ballpark. I certainly also preach teamwork and, with our front office staff, and oftentimes those that have had a sports background, kind of buy into the team concept. And that unifies us as a front office staff since we're all supposed to be pulling in the same direction. But I think in general it's kind of healthy. Sports, I think, help keep people a little healthy physically. I think it gives them a little direction mentally. And we're glad to participate in that on a multitude of levels, both with the athletes and then the people that are coming out to see the athletes play.
Okay. Great. We have here in New Jersey, I'm sure, thousands of kids, and nationwide hundreds of thousands who play Little League Baseball, Pop Warner football, recreational soccer, whatever. Some of them go on to the high school level, smaller amount go on to college. But when you think about it, all these people who play organized sports at some time in their lives, a very small percentage of them, minuscule probably, are going to go on to become professional athletes. Yet I think everyone who's ever played an organized sport takes something away from it or learned something from it. I know I did. There's things that I learned in high school football, not just how to throw a cross-body block,
sure,
but that I remember and still are of use to me in my work and other things that I do. What are some of the things that you think kids can learn from just being involved in organized sports?
Well, I think there's a certain joy you should be able to get in seeing hard work that you put in turning into fruitful results, whether it's playing a good game or just having fun, because at the end of the day, sports are a game, and you should be having fun when you're playing games. I think another thing is it just teaches that life can sometimes be hard. There's not always a winner on both sides. You do lose sometimes. Sometimes you lose pretty bad, and I think those lessons can be as valuable as winning graciously and being a good sport. So, I think it helps build a little bit of character.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen that in a lot of people. Let's talk about the economic effect for a few minutes. I see it kind of working two ways. In most cases, not all government and the taxpayers make a certain investment by either providing funds for a stadium, maybe some infrastructure improvements, and then a franchise comes in and can give back to the community in some of the ways that you mentioned, but in a dollars and cents sort of way. There's some jobs, limited number of jobs with the organization, but then a spin-off effect in the economy area, restaurants and businesses. How has that worked for the Thunder?
Well, absolutely. I mean, I think that, several studies have shown that a typical dollar brought in through the stadium is probably turned over 5 or 6 times within the county. And for us, we employ, close to 200 people on a game day. Probably about 75% of those people actually live in the county in which we play, so it's getting spent directly back here. We pull people from outside the county into the county to spend their money. I can tell you that our visiting teams, when they come to play the Thunder, occupy about 1,400 room nights per year, so that helps feed the economy. Our bus company, when we travel on the road as a local Trenton company, we buy all of our food locally that we put in the stadium. We do a lot of work with our sign companies, our cleaning companies. So there's a lot of different elements that people might not necessarily see on the surface that really do go down and sprinkle many roots throughout the community economically, for sure.
Yeah, and I can see, if you multiply that by the number of cities where there's baseball or any professional sports teams, there's a large economic benefit that way.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, are you affected by external things such as now the economy's been kind of in a downturn? Does that affect the way you operate or make you have to rethink the way you do certain things with your operation?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't think we're different than anybody else. We've seen insurance costs increase. We've seen utility costs increase. We've seen fuel costs increase. And what that's doing for us, we've noticed this year, we think we might be in an advantage for ticket sales because people might stay a little closer to home this year. And, we're going to kind of make everybody hope they take their summer vacation with us and stay close to home. But, from a sponsor aspect with people that advertise, I think we're just seeing that people are taking a little bit longer in their decision-making process. And budgets seem to be getting set a little later than usual because people are just trying to manipulate their expenses to fit into the things they need to do. But I still think we're, poised to have a very good year.
Yeah, I guess like everyone else, you're keeping your fingers crossed that something will happen to boost the economy back up
No
again.
question. The economy and the number one thing we keep our fingers crossed for is non-rain on game days.
Sure.
That helps our economy greatly.
Yeah. Yeah, you're one of the few businesses where the weather has a direct impact
true.
on what you do. And I know even, it was before you were around, but the first year the Thunder were in operation, you had a tremendous number of rainouts, which,
that field wasn't ready for the first night, and what was supposed to be an April 10th opener turned into a May 15th opener or something along those lines. And it took its toll on the field for sure.
Yeah. So, well, let's move from the economy to like this sense of community, which you've talked about, a little bit so far. We've all seen fanatical fans. People are like really loyal, to their teams. But beyond that, when there's a certain excitement that gets generated when there's a team in a community, especially when a team is performing well. Do you see that here, and what sort of benefits do you see, community-wise from having a franchise located?
Well, I think we enjoy a good reception from people because we are active in the community. When you have a year like we had last year and we actually won the Eastern League Championship for the first time in franchise history, everybody loves a winner. So that's kind of nice to have that. But I think people really recognize that we're sincere in our efforts in our community. And when we go out, whether it's with player appearances, our mascot, our dog Chase, we do literacy and geography programs in the off-season at schools. We do hospital therapy visits. There's just a wide variety of things we do to get involved and stay involved in the community, including things through our Grand Slam We Care Foundation, which is a 501c3, which has contributed over $3.2 million in goods and services over our 14-year history.
Okay. Well, that's great. I know the Thunder are doing a lot of terrific things, and we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I'd like to talk to Brad a little bit more about some of the things that the Thunder are doing, and maybe in particular some of the things that might be on the horizon for this new season.